Bershus Kvoider Shayeshiva Shlita, Bershus Kol Hakol Hakodosh Hazeh. It's Erev Shavuos. Kadosh Baruch Hu is about to give us the Torah. As we know from the Svarim HaKadoshim that every year what happened in the past happens again in the spiritual realm, and we're about to be Makabel the Torah. The Heilige Chofetz Chaim had a son, Rabbi Yaleib, was an Adam Gadol. He was the last Rav in Radin, I think. Rabbi Yaleib lived in a very difficult time, and he had a turbulent life. There's a lot of upheaval. He writes in one of his letters, doesn't even know where his children are. Two, he says, are somewhere in Belgium. And he had two daughters who were swallowed up into communist Russia. And as was unfortunately was commonplace in those years, that even by the greatest of tzaddikim, sometimes the children were swept away. In Tov Shin Lamed Vov, in 1976, the two daughters of Rabbi Yaleib, two granddaughters of the Chofetz Chaim, came to Eretz Yisrael after being 60 years under the communists. And the mishpacha went to greet them, and he was speaking to one of the granddaughters, and they asked her, do you remember, tell us what you remember about the Zayda, about the Chofetz Chaim. She says, when I was a young girl, I told the Zayda that I want to go study in university, and he wasn't happy, and he said, why, you're a princess of Torah, why would you need to go to foreign waters? Why is that important to you? And I said to him, Zaydinke, there's a big world, I want to see the light of the world, I don't want to spend my life in the darkness. And I said to him, and why are you going to live your life here in this darkness, never knowing and seeing what's in the world? And the Zaydinke said to me, says, Gitala, listen to me. You know, the world is advancing. It was ready after World War I. There were the airplanes. He said, you see the airplanes that fly in the sky? Let me tell you something. There's going to come a time when they're going to fly and land on the moon. And Gitala, you saw in the last war the terrible destructive power of the weaponry and the bombs. I want you to know there's going to come a time the technology is going to advance so rapidly they'll have bombs that will be able to destroy entire cities and entire countries. But for all of the advances and all of their great wisdom, they'll never be able to make a better person. Humanity will descend and get lower and lower until they will produce people who are lower than Chayes Rois. Only Torah has the ability to take a person and to lift him up and change him and making something better. All they're going to do is destroy the world. And she said, I always knew the Zayda was a great Talmud Chacham. I knew he was a great tzaddik. But after all these years, I see that he was like a Novi, he was like a prophet. Everything that he said came to be. On Shavuos, we're about to be Makabel the Torah, the greatest gift that was ever given. The only source of growth, of truth, of emes, of beauty, of tikkun of humanity. All that there is the Torah HaKadosh that Kadosh Baruch Hu gave to us, is going to give to us on the Yom Tov of Shavuos. And so we are here to be ready for Kabbalah SaTorah. When we've almost finished counting, we've counted most of the Svirah. And many of us may feel we're far from ready for Kabbalah SaTorah. The famous words of the Rechaim HaKodesh, when he asked the question, it says that on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, Bayom Hazeh Bo Midbar Sinai, and then it says the next pasuk, Vayisum Erefidim Vayavoyu Midbar Sinai. So you switched around the order. You should first say they left Refidim. You say they came and then they left. So the Chaim HaKodesh says that this is ahava milkalkelis es ashuro, lahagdim ha'mu'ucher, to say what comes later, to say it early. Sheliyois ki hu ze yoim ha'mekuva, this was the hope and awaited day. La boire, la toire, la oilom, la elyoinim, la tachtoinim. Umiyoim habriya, from the day of creation. Heim yoishum u'mitzapim, they're waiting with bated breath. Mosa yavoyu b'nai Yisrael, when will they come to Midbar Sinai? And so when they came, lo yotzru koyach l'sapatera, couldn't contain herself. And take if kodmo, and set out, oh, bo Midbar Sinai, they're here. And then we can go back and retrace and say, Vayisu me'refidim. And he describes what happened on that day. Higia choshuk v'nechshak l'choshik v'choshuk. We could spend probably years trying to figure out what these ideas mean. But this was the day that all of creation was waiting for. And needs to be understood, because we're not talking here about the day of Kabbalah Satoir, we're talking about Rosh Chodesh Sivan. So the long-awaited day was the Yontiv of Shavuos. So why was the day that the whole Bria is waiting for, why is the day they came to Midbar Sinai? So we see from here, the greatest accomplishment is not the day of Kabbalah Satoira, but the day that Klal Yisrael became worthy and roi and ready to accept the Torah. That's the most meaningful day in existence. It took 2,500 years from Bria So'ilam. Yet Asara Doiras Ba'adam V'Anoyach and Asara Ba'Noyach Ba'Avram, and everything kept going until finally there was a nation, there was a people who were worthy of accepting the Torah. Once they were in Midbar Sinai, from there to the Koilus Ubrokim and the Noich B'Leilecham Mipi Agvura was a few days. That distance was very, very close. But first we have to be people who can accept the Torah. So how does that happen? We mentioned in previous years the Shem Mishmur in Parshas Yisro, who talks about this question, why it says first they came to Midbar Sinai and then Vayisem Erefidim. And he says because the Yid, when they were in Refidim, they felt they're not worthy yet for Kabbalah Satoira. Rafu Yudayim, there's a Rifkin Yodayim, they just had Melchemes Amalek. And he said they were like Misyashim, they were in despair, they felt that we are not ready to be Makabal the Torah. And that's the worst thing of all. The only eitzah that they had was to imagine in their minds, even before we're there, Bo Midbar Sinai, we're already there, we're standing in our Sinai, we're the nation of Kabbalah Satoira. And because they had this vision in their mind's eye, that itself enabled the Vayisum Erefidim Vayavoyu Midbar Sinai. So it's difficult to understand. He said, this is the advice for anybody who wants to grow. He said, if you're going to be busy with what happened, you're going to be mismamer and tanesim and all these things on what was in the past, you're going to fall and lose hope. Your eitzah has to be, Hashem, and see that I can do it, and I can be that Adam Gadol, and when you have that in your mind, you can become that. So what is it? Is it a trick? Playing mind tricks? I'll imagine that I'm this big tzaddik, imagine this big goyim. That's going to get me somewhere. Is that what it means? Now, if somebody is going to imagine I'm Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, or I'm going to be Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, he's in for a lot of disappointment. And he's going to end up, Rachmanu Litzlan, on the opposite of Simcha. If someone thinks he's going to be the Chafetz Chaim, he's heading for trouble. Yet the Rambam says every person could be like Moshe Rabbeinu. So what does it mean? It doesn't mean you can write a Zohar HaKodesh, it doesn't mean you can write a Mishnah Berurah, but it does mean that you could be at the same level. You could be like Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, and you could be like Yirmiyahu Hanavi. At Kabbalah Satoira, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Klal Yisrael, and we were all there, Ani amarti Elohim atem uvnei Elyon kulchem. You're all bnei Elyon, every one of you. He was talking to us. Bnei Elyon kulchem. And every one of us got 2 golden crowns. And we all had the same crowns. We had the same crown, Shem Bar Yochai, as Yirmiyah. as anybody, as David HaMelech, we had to say, well, anybody shouldn't be, I don't know, somebody has to have a Rebbe's crown with struckers on it, I don't know, we should get a more simple crown. No, we all have the same exact crown. How does it come that we all have the same exact crown? Let me tell you what Rabbi Yerucham says. Rabbi Yerucham asks a kasha, magnificent kasha. We know Mashiach is going to come. Now, who's Mashiach going to be? We all know Mashiach is going to be somebody who's alive in our times. That's what Mashiach is. He says, how is this going to work? You have a Mashiach from Tovshin Pei Dalet, and the Obbas HaKadoshim are going to come, and Moshe Rabbeinu, and the Nevi'im, Tanam Ram, and they're all going to be dancing around this person from 2024. How is that supposed to work? What is that? How is it going to look? You're talking about the Zion Royim, talking about the Obbas HaKadoshim. And they're going to be nichna to a Mashiach, somebody who comes from our generation. So Rabbi Yerucham writes, he says, because we have no idea Klal Godel Hu, Godel Ha'or, Lefi Goidel HaChoshech. According to how dark it is, that is how light that light is. Ve'ein lana, we have no musig of the godless, of somebody who grows in a time of choshech, and what an or godel he can be. And he quotes a medrash, and the pasuk in Koheles, Al Toimlu ki hayom shayom rishonim o yutoyim me'elu Omer Abrechia. It says about Yoyoda, but Yoyoda Hoyanogid La'an, he was like a prince, a king to Aaron. Like the Medrash, how could that be? It was hundreds of years later. It's not like Aaron. Says the Medrash, Ilu hoya Aaron kayim b'doyer shel Yoyoda hoyoyoda godol mimenu b'shato. And Rabbi Yerucham says, is there a question that Yoyoda couldn't even understand the Sichas Chulin of Aaron? Aaron is a bechina. Aaron is hoyed. Aaron is one of the Zion Royim. How could he be like Aaron HaKoyin? And yet it says that Yoyoda will be a nogid la'aharon. And Yerucham explains, because since his light shined in a darkness, he's a nogid laharan. And Yerucham continued and he said, a ben yeshiva today, he's talking about 80, 90 years ago, he's being miyageya to understand the words of an achron, a great achron. And he doesn't understand it, and his muches are going to pluktzach, and he's trying to get it. And he thinks that he's so far. It's yitochen, he says, that he could be greater than the mechaber of the Sefer he's struggling to understand. And he says, not only it's yitochen, he says, bevadai, ein sofik etzli. He says, I would talk more about it, but I'm afraid the Bacham will become balei gaiva. You know, there was a Yid who came to the Chofetz Chaim once. He was a doctor from Frankfurt, a very fine Jew. Sent his children to yeshiva. He was a healer. He was kaveitim latoya, but he wanted to see the olam yeshivas. He was curious. I'd never seen. So he traveled to Lita, and he went to Mir, and he went to Telz, and he went to Kletsk, to Kamenetz, and he saw the great yeshivas. And he had never seen such a thing. He was overwhelmed. The storm of Torah. He never knew such a thing existed. And then he came to Radin. He saw the Radin yeshiva, and he went into the Chofetz Chaim. And by this time, he was a broken soul. He came to the Chofetz Chaim. He says, Rebbe, what's going to be with me? How will I get Olam Haba? He says, what do you mean? Kol Yisrael yesh lam chelik lo yadamo. I said, Rebbe, I know that Mishnah. I thought I'm living a full Jewish life. I see there's people who are being moisen nefesh for Torah. They know so much. It's unbelievable. How will I get into Gan Eden? And the Chofetz Chaim said to him, it's very possible you could be my neighbor in Gan Eden. I said, how could that be? You wrote the Mishabur, you wrote the Chofetz Chaim. He says, no. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave each person a mission and a set of circumstances. I was born here in Lita, and I grew up, I was Neschanach in Vilna, and I met Rabbi Sol Salant, and I met Racham Karodna, and everything was planted into me that I should write Svarim, I should be Marbitz Torah, I should be this great Goyen. And you were born in Frankfurt, and you grew up with Torah and Derech Eretz, and you were raised to become a healer and to help people. And you're teaching your children to give them a Yiddish chinuch. And you're learning, and you're doing, as long as you're doing what you are capable of, you are using your full koiches, then there's no difference. You can be my neighbor in Gan Eden. Because there's no madrega amitis that a Yid is not shaykh to. Doesn't mean a madrega amitis. A madrega amitis means utilizing his full potential. At Matan Torah, every person was in a state of realizing his full potential. And so everybody had the same crowns. That's what happened there. But why do we find it so hard to reach our potential? And the reason is because we don't have that Bo Midbar Sinai. We can't imagine ourselves more than what we are. We can't think of ourselves. We can't have that image of ourselves as somebody who's truly great, somebody who's living to his full potential. And that, Rabbi Yisrael, is the Iker Mulchama in life. We think the Mulchama is with the Yetzer Hara wants me to do this or that, I'm fighting with him. That's just on the outside. That's the peripheral battle. The real battle, the depth of the battle is, I'm struggling to be able to see that I am a Ben Melech, that I am more than that I am a Bo Midbar Sinai. Once I'm at Midbar Sinai, the rest is easy. In a few days, it's Kailas Ubrakim. But if we're stuck, we can't get to Midbar Sinai because we can't see ourselves. We can't imagine ourselves as anything unique. We can't imagine ourselves as being, I am the purpose of creation, which Chazal say, you're mechuyev to say. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu designed you uniquely to light up the entire world. We say, B'shvili Nivra Olam. Doesn't mean the world is here to serve. It means there was a whole world created just so I should have more to light up. That means the whole world. The Avos, Moshe Rabbeinu, everybody was created. Why? So that when I keep Torah mitzvahs, I light up all that there ever was. But it's very difficult for us. It goes against everything we see, in everything we feel. The empirical evidence doesn't seem to justify that we should imagine this about ourselves. So how do we get there? The first thing is we need to have some clarity in what is the level of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's love for a Yid. Now, the Pasuk tells us by Matan Torah, Moshe Olal Elikim, Vayikra Elav Hashem in Ohor Leimor, K'Soymel Beis Yaakov V'Sagel B'nei Yisrael, Atem Re'isam Asher Asisi L'Mitzrayim, V'Esa Eschem Al Kanfei Nishorim, V'Ovi Eschem Eloi. And Rashi brings the famous Moshel Kanfei Nishorim, like the eagle who carries her fledglings on her back, so that if the archer will shoot an arrow, she says, Mutav Yikones Achetz Bi, let the arrow enter me, Val Yikones B'Bonai. And so too, says Rashi, they were at Yam Suf, and the Mitzrayim were shooting their missiles, their chitzim and balisteroids, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu was catching them and deflecting them and protecting Klal Yisrael, like the eagle says, Mutav Yikones Achetz Bi. Now, if you think about it, the mashal doesn't do justice, apparently, to the Nimshal. How can you compare the two stories? The eagle is giving her life away. If the arrow enters her, she's going to die. The arrows didn't harm the Onan, didn't hurt HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It meant nothing to him. So why is that a comparison to what HaKadosh Baruch Hu did by accepting the arrows, the chitzim blisterois? That's a comparison to the mother eagle who gives away her life for her child. A bacher once told me that his father hates him. I know my father, he's always putting me down, he's always degrading me, he can't stand me. It's a very terrible thing for a child to say. I said to him, if there was somebody about to shoot you, and your father was there, would he jump in between you and the fellow with the gun and take the bullet for you? Yeah, I know he would. Of course he would. Because the father's ready to give away his life for his child. So you mean you know your father loves you? Yeah, he's maybe not acting that way. Maybe he's annoyed with you. But that's on the superficial level. At the depth of it, your life means everything to him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to tell us how much he loves us. But in all of existence, there isn't a mashal that can do justice to it. Because to tell us, like a father, I'm ready to die for you, there's no such thing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu lives forever. And what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, look, I haven't got the mashal. In this narrow world, I'll find something that I can describe to you. If there would be such a thing that Kaviyachol would cease Chalila to exist, that would mean all of existence would stop. There would be no Havaya. If that's what it would take to save you, Klal Yisrael, that's what I'd be ready to do. I want you to know, how much do I love you? Ve'eso eschem al kanfei neshorim. When we understand what that level of ahava is, it encompasses all of Bria. And then a person can look at himself and say, maybe there's so much more to me than I think there is. No, the Medrash tells a story about a melech who got upset with his queen. He was angry at her and he banished her from the house. And he says, I'm megarshani, I have no rachmanas, not on her, not her children. Her children are not my children. She's not my wife. She's not my wife. Isha. He sent her away. Next day, someone sees him by the goldsmith in the shuk, and he's ordering, I want to make a beautiful golden ornament for my wife. And there's somebody who's a Hava Shel Melech, he's watching there what's happening, and he goes back, he tells the people there, says, didn't we just hear that the Melech is having a huge fight with his wife, and he said he's getting rid of her? I just was there by the goldsmith, and I see he's making a very expensive present for her. And the Medrash fears this Moshe with the Psukim in Hosea, Ki atem lo yami v'anoichi lo eya lochem. And right afterwards it says, V'hoya b'mokem asher yoyim alehem lo yami atem, yoyim alehem b'ni kelchoy. So what does this mean? We're talking about the Rebbeinu, we're not talking about a human being, who can't make up his mind. He's a hafach v'chan. I'm angry and then I'm happy. And this. Chas v'shalom, that's not what's going on over here. Melech was angry, then he calmed down. You have to appease him. You have to. Talk about the Rebbeinu Shalom. Now, there are two types of ahavas. There's an ahava that comes when the ohev recognizes and appreciates the tremendous attributes of the ohuv. He sees the malus, he's mispoiled from the great character, from the great chen, and from that he has an ahava. But there's a different type of ahava. There's a ahava that comes when the ohev understands that the ohuv is mashlim him. And without that, I am incomplete. I need this ohuv. And I am lacking without that ohuv. And this ahava is not dependent on the malus of the ohuv. It's in the mitzias that the ohev is margish, that he needs to have the ohuv. This is the ahava that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has for us. It's not because of our milas. It's because we are a chelik of him. And who Kaviyachol the Eibishter is one with us. And so even when he's angry at us, he says, I'm going to the goldsmith because this is my beloved. And if anybody would be mizbainin properly in Shir Hashirim, so the whole Shir Hashirim is saying this message. So if there's such a great ahava to us, why don't we feel it? Why don't we feel it? Kadosh Baruch Hu is being mazrim ahava to Klal Yisrael. I've often said over, once said he had a Kabbalah from Shuleim, that when Mashiach is going to come, it's going to be the same like it was in Mitzrayim. It's going to be like Makas B'chayros. There was death and destruction all around, but the Mashchas jumped over the houses of the Eden and they weren't touched. And so there will be terrible destruction all across but not a single Erlich Yid will be harmed. And he said, what is an Erlich Yid? An Erlich Yid is one who's Mekayim va'avdil eschem min ha'amim liyois li. I'm separate from the nations and I'm part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What does it mean va'avdil eschem min ha'amim liyois li? We have to be separate from the nations. The psukim in the end of Parshas Kedoshim, if you read the psukim, it's apparent. We think Havdalah is a heichetimtze for us to be Mekayim Torah mitzvah. When I'm Mekayim Torah mitzvah, I can't walk around with the chukaseyim of the goy. I have to be separate from goyish culture. Else, the emes is mavur in the psukim is the other way around. The purpose of Torah mitzvahs is to be mavdil us from the Umas Ha'olam. The whole reason we have Eretz Yisrael. It says, V'oim alechem atem tirshu es admosom v'ani etnenu lechem l'reshes ois eretz avos cholod bosh. Why? Ani Hashem elekechem asher livdalti eschem minu almim. So that you should be separate from all of the ummahs. When we're not separate, what happens is that all of the shefa gets filtered through the tzinoiris of the Umas Ha'olam. It says by Yitzias Mitzrayim, Chazal tell us we were taken out like a uber mimei imoy. An uber, how does an uber get nourished? The mother eats and the food goes down, the umbilical cord enters so anything that the unborn baby eats goes through the tzinor of the mother. Any shefa leki that came to us in Mitzrayim came through the tzinoiris of the Mitzrayim and so was contaminated. And the Soif HaGolus is going to be like the Soif of Golus Mitzrayim. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be mazrim so much shefa and so much ahava and so much siyata d'shmaya. Yet if we are going to be makabelit through the tzinoiris of the thought process, through the perspective of the Umas Ha'olam, then we'll never be able to feel that ahava that HaKadosh Baruch Hu really has to us. Nothing would interest us. Even $1 billion wouldn't be interesting to us if we really could feel the true power and potency of that ahava HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to us. But today we live in a world where due to the advances in technology, as the Chofetz Chaim said, what is it doing? It's bringing down the world, but it also has an effect on us because it makes us think like the Umas Ha'olam. There's a medrash in Parshas Chukas. Medrash tells a story. A goy came to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, and he said, what are you people doing with this parah aduma business? You're doing ma'aseh kshofim. You take a parah, you burn it, you put it into the water, you spritz it. It's all like superstitious stuff. And then you say tiharto. Does not befitting for a advanced intellectual nation like you. And so Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai asked this guy, have you ever seen somebody who was taken over by a ruach ra, by a bad spirit? He said, yeah. So what do? Well, we bring incense and we bring leaves and we blow it and we smoke that and then we chase out the ruach ra. So he said, no, Yishma Chamasha, I'm not to listen to what you just said. Just like you do that. So this thing is a ruach hatumah, and we bring these paraduma and the meipara, and we spritz it and it chases away the ruach hatumah. And when he left, the Talmidim came and they said, Rabbeinu, lozeh dochiso bekona. You pushed them off. But tell us, lonu ma'atem, what do you tell us? What's the answer to the question? And he said, Chayechem, loy hames metame, v'loy hamayim metarim, elo oma kodesh baruch hu, chuko chokakti, gezeiro gozarti, iyate reshoi, laver al gzeirosi, d'chsiv zois chukas hatoyr. So what's going on? The Talmidim of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai could go ask such a... We have the same question. How do we have the same question? They didn't know Zois Chukas HaTorah, didn't know Gezeirim Milufanai, didn't know Umas Ha'olam Moinen Es Yisrael. And another question. If this question was bothering them, why did they never ask it before? And the answer is, this question never would have bothered him. But once the Goy asked it, it became a question. Became influenced. Because then that thought process starts to get to us. The Torah is a Torah's emes. You hear people who have questions. They don't. A woman will say, the Torah is unfair. Why can't an Isha say Eidus? It's discriminatory. Why can't she do this mitzvah, that mitzvah? It could be something that bothers a person very much. It could be a reasonable question. But it's a goyish question. It only comes, the question becomes, we're nis'arif bein ha'umas. There's nothing in the Torah that's unfair. There's nothing in the Torah that's unjust. There's no such thing. The Torah is truth. The Torah is emes. But Umas Ha'olam, they don't think with their seichel, they think with their ego. So all that counts how something makes me feel. Now, am I upset? I'm not a Kohen, I'm not a Levi. So Mashiach comes, I won't be able to do the avodah. It's not fair. Why can't I do the avodah? Thank you for telling me the truth. Thank you for telling me that Hazar HaKarav Yumos. Had I not known, I would have gone in there. Khalil, who knows what could have happened? So the more that we are connected, and we're influenced, and we're part of the Goyish world, we're lacking in the Va'avdal Eschem Mino Amim. It's going to distort our ability to think and our ability to feel HaKadosh Baruch Hu's love for us. Everything is going to come through their perspective of what love means. We're not going to understand the depth of the Ahavas Hashem to Klal Yisrael. And when we don't separate ourselves, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, so I'll make you separate. I'll make you disgusting and repulsive in the eyes of the Goyim, and there'll be such a sinner, they will distance you. And so we're watching with shock. What's happening to this world? It's meant to be we're long past though the dark ages, and today people are meant to be sophisticated and thoughtful, and suddenly you hear things that sound like from 500 years ago. Where's it happening? Aboisai. If we don't separate ourselves, then the separation has to come a different way. We all know we're too close, we're too involved with the Goyish world and the Goyish thought process. It plays much too much a place in our lives, a nation who are the ones who have the Torah HaKadosh, the only thing in the world that can cure everything of all of its ills. Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing a chesed with us. He's showing us the ugliness of that world. And we can see, people we thought the great intellectuals championing and lauding murderers, the lowest animals in existence. Yeah, that's what the Chavetz Chaim says. They'll get advanced and advanced, they'll become lower than the wild beasts. And today the universities have become the sewer of civilization. That's what they are. That's where everything drains off and all the rot goes to. So where does it begin? How can we turn ourselves around? And in this way be able to see what a Yid really is? Now we say Shir Hashirim. The Chasam Sofer asks a question. Every shir is for a certain ness. There's Shiras Hayam, Shiras HaBe'er, Shiras Dvoire. So on what miracle was the Shir Hashirim said? So Chasam Sofer writes, it's a shir on our ability to sing to the Rebbeinu Shalom. That itself is so miraculous. You have to sing a shir on the fact that we're able to sing to Hashem. That's called Shir Hashirim. Now we can understand that because to connect to the Rebbeinu Shalom, to sing Shevach, I don't mean dafka a song, but the Shevach V'odot to the Rebbeinu Shalom means going into our neshamas and transcending something that would otherwise separate us from the Rebbeinu Shalom and give us the ability to surpass that. So it's a wondrous thing. But is it really so? Is it so unique to us? Don't the Umas Ha'olam, they also have. They can sing with great religious fervor. They can reach rapture. Sometimes they sing their religious songs and they swoon from and when my father came to Levracha, we had to have an aide to help with him, and when he was in our house, and his aide was from Haiti, a Haitian, very nice guy. He told us he was in his church choir, loved to sing. She said that Friday night by the table, used to like hum along. Came to Ko'ech Soif, he was in a different world. His eyes were closed. He was a beautiful song, so beautiful, so beautiful. He loved Ko'ech Soif. So So what do you mean? So he's also singing. He's singing. So what's the shir? What is unique to our shir that we say a shir hashirim? At Kabbalah Satorah we were told Anoichi v'lo. What's Anoichi v'lo? The Goyen says, it says in Shir Hashim Yishakeni min neshikois pihu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu kissed us at Matan Torah. But it doesn't say min neshikas pihu, min neshikois. It's a Lashon Rabbim. He gave us two neshikois. There were two kisses. One was Anoichi and one was Lo Yelecha. Anoichi represents all the mitzvahs aseh, and Lo Yelecha represents all of the mitzvahs lo aseh. The Anoichi brought us into a connection with the Rebbeinu Shalom at the deepest level. But the Lo Yelecha takes away all of the connection to things that are outside of that relationship. That's the Loisa says. And he says in any relationship you have that. Relationship between Ish v'Isha. There has to be a connection, but there's also, Kiddushin means miuchedesli, and the Gemara says, Asura akula alma kehegdish. Because besides the chibur, there has to be exclusivity to be true ahava. If you love HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but you love other things, that you could have a love of Anoichi without the Lo Yelecha. You're missing the second neshika. It doesn't have that yechidus. The Shir Hashirim begins with Yishakeni min neshikois pihu. In order to have a relationship of exclusivity, not just ahava. Everybody likes ahava. Somebody told me, speaking somewhere, people told him, talk about mitzvahs. We love hearing about mitzvahs. Don't tell us about averos. No, it's not such it's a negative subject, right? But if you don't have the don'ts, there's no exclusivity to the relationship. Yeah, this guy is able to sing Koach Soif, but he has no don'ts. He loves everything else too. So there's that exclusive relationship is not there. And the Gemara says, Toivim doidecho is divrei soifrim. Achavim aleinu divrei soifrim yoyse miyena shel Torah. What are divrei soifrim? Divrei Sefer was what added on to the Torah all the Gedorim, hundreds and thousands of different halachas that restrict us. That's more precious to us than Yayin. Yayin is the Yena Shel Torah that's meshaker us, that intoxicate us, that magnificent, beautiful. What did the Rabbanon do? What did they do? You know what they did? Imagine Shabbos just with Deiraisis. It would have nothing to do without, you wouldn't recognize it at all. It would be a regular business day, regular work day. Yeah, you wouldn't write a few things. Amir l'achim b'mutter, you could find eitzes to use anything kemat that you'd be able to. You could do business, What did they do? Thousands of years ago, they announced one day, from now on, an Isser of Muktzah. Can you imagine what must have went on? What kind of extremism is this? I had a beautiful Shabbat. I can't touch something that yesterday was mutter? I can't touch the chair that the Muktzah is on. What gives them a right to do that? They're turning over our lives. But nobody had a question. Everybody understood. And now we understand that they were thinking thousands of years ahead. And they knew by saying things which appeared at that time to be just restrictions, that they are creating a Shabbos of exclusivity that's mamish me'ein olam haba, that we can really sing Koach Soif Noyam Shabbos and feel in contact with the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's only because of that. Ki toivim doidecho miyoyim. And so when we want to have this relationship by Kabbalah Satorah, it's not only about the beauty and all the things that we love about Yiddishkeit, but we also love all the things that we have to restrain ourselves and restrict ourselves, because therein lies, that solidifies the relationship and makes it exclusive. It makes it ahava. So what does it mean? List of do's and don'ts, we say. Religion, do's and don'ts. It's such a mistake. It's such a false interpretation. The Gemara tells us that when Moshe was all Amorim to get the Torah, so it was a big fight. The Malachim said, Tnohit Chala Shemoyim. And they said, Harzlem Tshuva. And he said, open up the Torah. It says, Kibbut Aveim, Yitzias Mitzrayim. You're never in Mitzrayim. You never father and mother. You have no kin. You have no sin. Obviously, the Torah is for us. So the big question is, what were the Malachim thinking? Why did the Malachim think that the Torah is for them? Look in the Torah. You see clearly that it's for Basa Adam. And the answer that's given is that, of course, they knew that the physical Torah is for Klal Yisrael. But there's a height of the Torah. There's the depth, the endless, the nister and the soid, and the endless oitzers of oir that we'll never be able to attain. A human being can never begin to. The Chavetz Chaim once, I think, the Baal Shem says the same word. Torah Hashem Tamimo means the Torah is still complete. All the Torah that was learned since Matan Torah hasn't even made a scratch in the Torah. There's so much there. So Ibazoi, the Malachim said, sure, give them the mitzvahs, but give us the hoid. So the question is then, so what did Moshe Rabbeinu answer? They had a good taina. So there's a Moshe from the Ben Ish Chai, a Dova Nifla. He says there was a very wealthy man. He had 2 children. He sent them to a different country to do business. And one day a package arrived from the father. They open inside the package, there's a suit. And sewed into the suit is a bag of diamonds. And he didn't say who it's for. So one brother said, the older brother said, look, I'm a diamantier, I deal in diamonds. Obviously he sent it to me. He says, you're in real estate, why should? He said, no, he sent it to me. He says, so they went to a Bezdin. They said, well, let's take out the suit and see what size it is. And one of the brothers was very tall, one is very short. And the suit was fit for a person who was short. He said, oh, obviously it's sent to you. He said, the suit represents the chelik hamaisa of the Torah. Sure, the oil is the diamonds. But if the suit fits for Basa B'Dam, that means the Torah is for Basa B'Dam. That's the Ben Ish Chai said. I think it still needs explanation. We have to be mamik in what he meant. Because it doesn't answer the question. Still, the fact is that we have no shaykhs to the chelik of the malachim. And he had no shaykhs to the diamonds that his brothers, a diamantier, had shaykhs too. So what is he saying? The Dova Nifla, Rabbi said. It says by Matan Torah, Kof Aleim Har Kigigis. Why do you have to have Kof Aleim Har Kigigis? Torah says there is a Nasav and Ishma. The Maral asks a question. He says, imagine you have a great Chochma, a big professor. He announced he's going to give a lecture, and he's going to speak Divrei Chochma, and all the biggest professors in the world come to hear him. And he gets up and he says the most basic things. 2 + 2 is 4, 4 + 4 is 8. He talks basic arithmetic. You say, what? This is what you called us all together? You made such a big announcement. This is what it's about. So imagine, the Rebbeinu Shalom says, I'm going to reveal myself into the world. There's going to be Kabbalah Satorah. You have to prepare yourself. There's Koilos who brought him thunder and lightning. And he gets up and he says, the Aseres HaDibris, the most poshut thing in the world. Who doesn't know? Every guy knows that. It was part of the Shiva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. This is what you're telling us? This is what you had to stop the whole world for? Tell us the basic things that everybody knows. That's in every public school. The old days used to be hanging the 10 Commandments. No, the pshat is, no, the translation of the 10 Commandments is completely off. We don't say it's the Aseres HaMitzvahs, Aseres HaTzivuyin, it's Aseres HaDibros. A dibur means HaKadosh Baruch Hu put into the world, he infused it with all of the oil that there is on Shemayim, he put it into the physical existence of the world. But since we live in the physical world, a person could say Nasa v'nishma is like a malach. That's the Megillah Lebonai Rozesh Mlachas Mistamshim boy. But he can fall so quickly to the lowest of the low. All of the things that it said that can happen because he's a person, he's a human being, he's a boss of a dom. So you have to have the Kaf Aleim Har Kigigas to force the goof to understand that the goof and the physical world, the physical challenges, that is where the diamonds are. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Malachim can never serve because they have no goof. They have no struggles. There's no diamonds. We live in a physical existence, but don't be fooled and think that it's mundane. All of life is there. Yes, it's difficult to learn Torah. It's difficult to give tzedakah. It's difficult to do a favor. It's difficult to watch our eyes. It's difficult to watch our ears, to watch our mouth. It's difficult not to get angry. It's difficult not to be jealous. But those are the greatest moments in life. That's life itself. When we have such a challenge, that means we're alive, something that a malach never did. And in those nisyonis is where HaKadosh Baruch Hu sewed in the diamonds. He filled every part of our physical existence, our physical day, with all of the oil that the malachim were pining for. You know, there was a famous asif in Peterburg. When all the Gedolei Yisrael got together, there was a decree, different decrees from the Zayim Achshemoy, who was going to affect all of the yeshivas. I think Reb Chaim was there, and the Chofetz Chaim was there, and the Sameach was there, and the Rebbe Rashab of Lubavitch was there, and other Gedolei Yisrael. They had a big asif, and they were discussing. And the Chofetz Chaim wanted to write something down. He needed a piece of paper. He didn't have a piece of paper. A little piece of paper. So the Rebbe Rashab took out from his pocket. He had a pad, and he gave him a piece of paper. So the Chofetz Chaim takes out a kopek, and he wants to pay him for the piece of paper. And the Rebbe smiles, says, "No, it's okay, it's okay." He says, "No, I want to pay you for it." Back and forth. He says, "You really sure you give it to me?" Yeah, he was clear. The Chofetz Chaim took it. And one of the Askanim, there was Reb Zelig, I don't remember his last name, goes to the Chofetz Chaim and says, "Rebbe, you don't understand. This is a Chassidish Rebbe. The Rebbe Rashab has tens of thousands of Chassidim, and amongst them are some very wealthy men. A kopek doesn't mean a thing to him." So the Chofetz Chaim says, "I also know a kopek doesn't mean, and a kopek is a penny. A penny doesn't mean anything. But a geneva of a penny is bigger than all of the universe. It's bigger than all of existence. In that penny, there's so much oil. All of the diamonds are there. If the entire wealth of the world would be one penny, and one person would have it, there would still be an entire Shulchan Aruch Hashem Mishpat, and a Seder Nezikin, and all of Torah, and all of the Tshuvas, Rishayim, V'Achreinim, bis to Chachmas HaNister, because that's where it all is. So how do we become, when we understand and we look, how can I see myself as being great? What am I doing? A few physical things, but when I understand that the physical things that I'm doing are all of existence. And then I understand that all of existence is in my hands. And then I understand that, yes, I can wear the same crown of Shimba Yechoy. And that there'll be a person from this door who will be Mashiach, and the others will dance around him. But you have to be able to see that. You have to have that vision. That's Bo Midbar Sinai. And then we're ready for Kabbalah Satorah, and then we're just a step away from Kabbalah Satorah. Then we are so much stronger than our nisyonis. Every yigiyah, every battle, that's what it's about. You're battling whether I should learn now or I should waste time. The real battle is, do I see my neshama? Do I see who I am? You have a battle. It should be something in business. Should I do something that's maybe not 100%? It's not about chemdas hamomon. That's on the outside. But what it really is about, do you see yourself as a prince? Do you see yourself as somebody the whole world is standing on? Do you see yourself as somebody who wears the same crown Shimba Yechoy? Or don't you? That's the battle. That's the Melchemes HaYetzer at its depth. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu is filling every single thing in this world with all of the oil. And us, v'chaya oilam nota b'soicheinu, in every penny, in every tree, in every flower, in every person, in every moment of our lives. They are so sewn with diamonds. And when we know that, and when we feel that, we're ready for Kabbalah Satorah. And once we're ready, that's all the world was waiting for. Bo Midbar Sinai. Bo Midbar Sinai. The whole world was waiting for us to be ready for Kabbalah Satorah. And so, here we are, on Erev Kabbalah Satorah. The world was waiting for now. I once told a story about the Tzvilat Tzaddik of Bluzhev. There was a doctor passing through his town. He was the king's doctor. And the Chassidim went, could he examine the Rebbe? He was a Jewish doctor. He was frei. He said, yeah, of course I would go. And he came to him and he examined him. He said in German, Rabbiner, Euer Körper ist ein allgemeins ganz gesund, aber das Herz klappt etwas nichts im Ganzen normal. Your heartbeat is not normal. So he said, Herr Doktor, wissen Sie, was heute ist? Today is the days before Shavuos. In an jenige Tag, Hashem is going to give the Torah to Klal Yisrael. Wilt ihr, Herr Doktor, the heart soll klappen normal? On Bo Midbar Sinai, the heart starts, the quickening of our heartbeats The whole world was waiting. For what? When our heartbeats will start to quicken that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us the Torah. That Ahavas HaTorah, that recognition that this is our Torah, this is who we are, and that we have the key. When everything else in the world is bringing everybody down, we have the Torah that will build us, that will build the world and will build people. The Rebbeinu Shalom is on self, that we should be zeicher to be makabel the Torah be'emes, and to be prepare ourselves to the Kabbalah HaTorah be'emes. And the Eibusha will give us the Seichel HaYosher, the wisdom that we need, the Siyata D'Shmaya that we need. And we'll be Zoiche B'Korev to see B'Yeshuos and Shal Yisrael, B'Nechemos and Shal Yisrael, B'Bias Mashiach Tzidkeinu B'Meira B'Yomeinu Amen. To bring out this idea and to help us understand, give us some insight into who we really are. Sing Nigen L'Chaved Yontiv. Is that a good key? Yeah? The streets were filled, and in the air you could feel the joy of fathers walking, holding the hand of his little boy. All were dressed in their Shabbos finery as they waited so excitedly. People were watching from their windows and from porches. Children waving flags, some holding torches. Suddenly the music began to play. The royal procession was underway. Itoiras Hashem temimo, Toiras Hashem temimo. All hearts uplifted to the lilting beat. They sang and danced the chuppah down the street. The Rav was dancing with the Torah with kavanah. Eidus Hashem nemono, Eidus Hashem nemono, machkimas pesi. And the great oak doors of the shul opened wide, and all the Sifrei Torah lovingly were carried outside to greet the new treasure now joining them. The whole crowd erupted with the song. Even the trees seemed to be dancing along. The glory, the pe'er, and the hoid, the Yavavoy Melech HaKavoid. The little boy tugs at his father's hand. Hey, Tata, what's this all about? I want to understand. I can't tell if the people are dancing or if they're flying. And Tata, why is the Rav crying? Avoy, my precious, sweetest one, my lechtige, tireless son. It's a story that began so long ago. On a desert mountaintop, when all creation stopped, and Hashem told us all we'll ever need to know. One day you too will learn, one day your heart will yearn, how hopefully I wait for that day. And the heavens will rejoice with the sweet sound of your voice. And Hashem will turn to his malachim and say, Avoi chazu, 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 Bonai chaviva, chazu, chazu, Bonai chaviva. As they overcome the tests of a Yetzer who never rests, they turn all the darkness into light. The light gets stronger and brighter with every zok the Gemara weiter. Chazu, chazu, bonai chavivayim. Hoide mishtachin betzalo, betzalo dilhoi. V'yoskin bechedve sodili. The whole shul looked like a sea of white. The air was filled with the holiness of Kol Nidrei night. Under the talesim, holy teardrops fall. Al das hamokoim v'yal das hakol. Or Zoru al Tzadik rings out the Baal Tfila's voice. He carries the Torah through the crowd. Soon the white velvet mantle is moist. Heilige Torah, I beg your forgiveness. This time I mean it, it's true. You know I never meant to hurt you. I know that every letter represents a soul. Maybe because of my sins, my letter is not whole. Heilige Bashefer, I promise to be better. But please, Hashem, please fix my letter. And the little boy tugs at his father's hand. Tata, what's this all about? I want to understand. They're all running to hug the Torah. They look like angels flying. But tell me, Tata, why are they crying? Oh, my precious, sweetest one, my lechtige tire song. It's a story that began so long ago. On a desert mountaintop, when all of creation stopped, and Hashem told us all we'll ever need to know. Sometimes we make mistakes, and yes, the heart aches, but we don't ever let that get in our way. We start fresh again and run towards the Torah Hashem, so he can turn to his malachim and say, Oy chazu, 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 Bonai chavivai, chazu, chazu, bonai chavivai. They've held on all these years through rivers of blood and tears, while always holding the Torah up so high. Their light gets stronger and brighter with every zok the Gemara weiter. Chazu, chazu, bonai chavivai. Hoide mishtachin betzalo, betzalo de'yilhoi. The oskin bechedve sodili. Atorei solodas ki Hashem hu Elokim. The culmination of the Yomim Tovim. After hours of singing and dancing with the Torah and begging Ono Hashem Hoishi Yavono, pleading with Hashem V'taher libeinu, and asking Goyel chazok aneinu v'yoim kodeinu, singing O aderes v'emuna lecha yohilo amin, and thanking Asher bocha bonu mikol o amin. And now the father holds his son under the talus, spread like a chuppah above. His pockets are bulging with candies and all the other good stuff. The Balkaira points to each word as he lanes slowly so that all the children can see. And all together they say, Hamaloch HaGoyel Oisi. Oh Hashem, it's such an Eis Rotzoin. Open out all of the Shi'orim. Hamalach HaGoyel Oisi Mikol Ro Yivorech HaNe'orim. V'yikorei bohem Shemi V'Shem Avoy Savavayim. Chazu chazu bonai chavivayim. The child tugs at his father's hand. Tata, what's this all about? I want to understand. I don't yet know how to read, but to me it seems like the letters are flying. And tell me, Tata, why are you crying? Oh, my precious, sweetest one, my lechtige, tired song. It's a story that began so long ago. On a desert mountaintop, when all creation stopped, and Hashem told us all we'll ever need to know. One day you too will learn. One day your heart will yearn, how hopefully I wait for that day, when the heavens will rejoice with the sweet sound of your voice, and Hashem will turn to his malachim and say, Ay chazo, 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 Ibonai chavivai, chazo, chazo, bonai chavivai. As they overcome the tests of a Yetzer who never rests, but they turn all that darkness into light. The light gets stronger and brighter with every zokdig gemara weiter. Chazu, chazu, bonai chavivai. Hoy de mishtachim betzalo, betzalo deyil hoy, no skin bechedve sodi. The war had just ended. It was late 1945. They gathered together in the large, empty shul. Those few had survived. The broken remnants of a tortured nation. A people who were slated for total annihilation. But it's Simchas Torah tonight, and they had holy plans. Although they could barely stand on their feet, but they were determined, tonight we will dance. But they searched through the whole city. They looked all around. There was not one Sefer Torah to be found. They said, Rebbeinu Shel Olam, we can dance even though we have no fathers or mothers. We can rejoice with your Torah, even though we're still mourning our sisters and brothers. But Ribono Shel Olam Kehil Gadol V'no Yirom. How could we have Simchas Torah without a Sefer Torah? And suddenly they discovered, to their amazement and joy, a Zis Yiddish kind, one small little boy. How we had survived defied all rational explanation. But they knew right then and there's a future for our nation. He will be our Sefer Torah tonight. We'll lift him up high. Yes, from all those burning parchments, those letters will rise to the sky. They danced around the bima as they carried him. And they said, Ato Reiso lo das, ki Hashem hu Elokim. Then like the little boy tugging at his father's hand. They looked up into Shemaim, they said, Tata Zisa, you don't have to explain. We don't need to understand. We saw the millions of malachim as they were to heaven flying. Tata Zisa, why are you crying? He said, Habein yakir li Ephraim, my yeled shashuim. Our story began so long ago on a desert mountaintop. When all creation stopped, you said to me that you don't even need to know what is written there. You just said we will do and we will hear. You trusted in me on that glorious day. You gave the Torah your lives, ensuring that it grows and thrives. And so I turn to my malachim and I say, Avoy chazo, 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 Ribonai chaviva, chazo, chazo, Bonai chaviva. As they overcome the tests of a Yetzer who never rests, they turn all that darkness into light. The light gets stronger and brighter with every zog the Gemara weiter. Chazu, chazu, bonai chaviva. Hoyde mishtachin b'tzalo, b'tzalo d'yil hoy. Yoskin bechedve sodiyili. It's the Yontiv of Matan Torah. He's coming to us once again. The thunder, the lightning, and the shofar, just like it was then. He's dancing under the chuppah, bring the Torah to his nation. Escorted he by his malachim, this day is the purpose of creation. And as we go forth to greet him, the whole world can see that it's true. Ay, 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 Pekul Shomrichu Yisroel v'oiraiso is mamish chad ho. Ay, 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 and soon we'll greet the Melech HaMoshiach, and then we'll be able to understand. Just imagine the singing and the dancing. Hashem will be holding our Torah in his hand. We'll run forth to hug and kiss the Torah. The white cover will be soaked in our tears. We'll sing Oy Zoruhu Ala Tzadik. Even the Shiras HaMalachim we will hear. And everyone will recognize his letter. And he will see how there could not have been a Torah without him. The Yesoyo Koli of Decha, all will cry out Hashem Hu Elokim. He'll hold us under his talis like a chuppah, and we'll open all the shi'arim and say Hamalach HaGoy Loisi Mikol Yivoreh V'Chesed Lehorim. And he'll lift us up as he dances. He'll raise us up to the sky. He'll say, look at my heilige children. Chazu, chazu, bonai chavivai. And we'll dance in the streets of Yerushalayim. The revelation of the great Soid. The song will shake Eretz Vishomayim. V'yovoi melech hakavod. Did it